According to a study by Kingston University, there are around 1.4 million contract workers in the UK. They often work for 3 or 6 month assignments, going wherever there is work. Many will commute long distances or have to stay away from their family during the week so they can do their job. Contractors work on oil rigs, in finance, engineering, IT, and marketing, to name but a few. They work in the health service, in large and small corporations, and they work in public services like the government. Contractors like Jenny. Jenny works in IT for an NHS trust. She makes sure the systems all work so doctors and patients get all the information they need. Jenny has no salary or benefits such as a pension, training, holiday pay, sick pay, health cover, or redundancy. Jenny has no guaranteed hours and is typically given only 1 week's notice when her work is done. Jenny has to run her own limited company and employ an accountant, as the onerous contracts she has to sign with clients for work will often require her to have liability and indemnity insurance cover of up to £5 million, something most self-employed people would have difficulty obtaining, and something that people in normal jobs don't need to worry about. In April 2000, the government introduced new tax legislation called IR35. IR35 penalised contractors like Jenny who worked at the same client for long periods, giving the impression that they were like a permanent employee. IR35 meant that Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, HMRC, would force Jenny to pay tax and national insurance just like a permanent employee, even though Jenny also had to pay for all her benefits like training, pension, holiday pay, sick pay, and health cover. Like thousands of other contractors back then, Jenny's accountant recommended she join an umbrella scheme, where thousands of contractors like her could all minimise their costs by joining one solution that manages all her taxes, her accounts, and provides all the insurance and legal cover Jenny needed to keep doing business. This was great for Jenny and thousands of contractors just like her. She knew the umbrella scheme was legal and above board because her accountant recommended it, and the umbrella scheme provider was completely clear with her. The scheme was approved, completely legal. Just like running a limited company, but without all the hassle. And was already being used by thousands of contractors, so in effect, Jenny would become an employee like normal people and not worry about the tax and national insurance. That would all be handled for her. Jenny's worries could be taken care of and she could focus on her work. Which Jenny did for many years. She worked hard, filed her tax returns and paid what was due. Everyone was happy. Jenny got paid and HMRC got paid. Jenny and her husband raised a family, which was a struggle because she couldn't work and didn't get maternity pay, but the family pulled together and made it possible. Later, Jenny and her husband managed to save just enough to get their first home, and life started to feel complete for Jenny. But then it seemed like everyone was talking about tax avoidance. Politicians would talk about the wealthy elite, the top 1%. And then people started talking about tax avoidance schemes used by celebrities, footballers, and TV stars. Jenny started to worry, so she spoke to her accountant and she spoke to her umbrella scheme provider. Everyone said, "Don't worry, they're not talking about you. You are a normal person, working hard, paying your taxes. Your scheme is entirely legal and you've done nothing wrong. The government don't have an issue with ordinary, respectable family people who are working hard and paying their dues. And if the government hasn't told you you're doing anything wrong, then there is no need to change anything." Jenny was happy again. She worked hard and watched as politicians all fought against each other, shouting about the rich and famous and the tax dodgers and the offshore elite. But last year, Jenny's world stopped. Literally stopped. Jenny received a notice from HMRC saying they consider her umbrella scheme to be a tax avoidance scheme. Not illegal, but morally wrong. So they wanted a huge sum of money which they thought Jenny owed. The amount of money was more than the value of Jenny's home. It was more than everything Jenny and her family owned put together. It was more than either Jenny or her husband could earn in a year. It was an enormous, unimaginable amount of money. Jenny thought about it and cried, but didn't want to tell her husband. She kept it to herself, worrying, not sleeping, not able to work. She became very ill and her family worried what was wrong. Eventually, Jenny had to tell her husband. "Don't worry," he said. "I'm sure we can repay it over the next few years." But no. HMRC wanted the money in 90 days. Imagine if you had spent the last 10 years doing everything you thought was right, only to be told it was now wrong. Not illegal, just considered politically wrong now. HMRC never told you anything during those 10 years, otherwise you would have stopped doing it. Nobody gave you a chance to change what you were doing or to put things right. And then imagine the government demanding £50,000, £100,000, or even more, with only 90 days to pay it. The Finance Act 2014, introduced by HMRC and approved by your Member of Parliament, allowed HMRC to send accelerated payment notices, APNs, to 65,000 contractors, just like Jenny, for tax that HMRC now believe, but have not proven in a court of law, to be owed through the innocent use of umbrella schemes. 65,000 people. That's 65,000 families facing huge financial and emotional stress, ruin, and even bankruptcy. And that is just the start. The money is not owed, it is just believed to be owed. And to help HMRC hit targets because getting money out of big corporations and the elite 1% is too hard, they have picked on ordinary people like Jenny. HMRC knew Jenny was in the umbrella scheme for a decade, but did nothing. They didn't warn Jenny or raise any issues with her tax returns. If HMRC had told Jenny she was doing something wrong, she would have left the umbrella scheme straight away. HMRC are even saying that if, one day, it turns out Jenny didn't owe them the money, they will pay it back. But that doesn't help Jenny and her family who are facing financial ruin and bankruptcy today. HMRC are doing nothing about the scheme providers, nearly all of whom still exist and are still providing services to thousands of other contractors, all of whom will receive an APN for a huge amount of money in future. And all of this is money which HMRC has not proven is owed, because the schemes were and still are entirely legal. What HMRC are doing is retrospectively changing the law to suit political popularity. Just imagine a world where the government can pass a law today that makes something you legally did 10 years ago become illegal. And now they can make you pay for it. It's like an Orwellian nightmare. But that is happening, and it's happening to Jenny and thousands upon thousands of ordinary, hard-working people. Jenny is not a tax dodger. Jenny is not a tax avoider. Jenny is not rich, nor is she part of the offshore elite. Jenny is a normal person, just like you. In his budget in March 2016, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, George Osborne, proposed that a tax charge would be made on people like Jenny, without statutory or judicial sanction. This charge would be applied to people like Jenny if HMRC believe they still owe money on the 5th of April 2019. This completely ignores basic protections to citizens of the UK contained in the Taxes Management Act 1970. Those protections give certainty to taxpayers that they can regard their tax affairs as settled and incapable of further adjustment after years have passed. This is retrospective taxation of the very worst kind. But Mr. Osborne is clever. He knows that by always talking about tax evasion, tax avoiders, the elite and celebrities, he will gain the support of all the MPs and the British people. By attacking people like Jenny, it will take the spotlight off major corporations like Google and Starbucks, who are too powerful for this government to fight. So they fight Jenny. They fight Jenny and they fight thousands of hard-working contractors because they are an easy target. But Jenny is not alone. Jenny and thousands of contractors have all joined Big Group, which, as a collective of professional advisors and contractors, will help Jenny with the injustice being forced upon her. They will support her by challenging retrospective principles and developing tax arguments to expose HMRC's injustice and wrongdoing. and will represent Jenny and thousands of others who are desperately trying to avoid financial ruin and suffering for their families. Jenny and her family are not alone now. There are many others just like her, and the support network of Big Group will help them through the deliberately cruel scare tactics HMRC are using on ordinary, hard-working people. Find the help and support you need in Big Group.